Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Halo Forge Epidemic. This is Psychoduck, and I have another competitive map tutorial to share with you guys. Today we're looking at screen lag, or frame rate. Basically, for those who aren't terribly familiar with it, frame rate drops are a pretty common occurrence in Reach Forge, unfortunately, due to several things, such as object density, the textures on objects, etc. And obviously preventing frame drops in competitive maps is pretty important. So I kind of have these two piles of objects, and this one here on the left is like no-no objects. These are all big time, wow, I can't think of the word I wanted to use. It started with a P, but anyways, they cause a lot of frame rate drops. Whereas these over here aren't as bad, but still have, you know, the definite possibility of causing some frame rate drops. So, you know, you're never gonna just place one object and just have screen lag, but having multiple will cause it, and then having, you know, object density. And then things like glass, lights, just lots of detail on objects, etc. So something you'll notice about all those objects in the no-no pile, they all have glass and lights on them. And then kill balls are bad for frame rate as well, and also they look retarded in every competitive map. They look out of place. Don't use them, please. Just don't. You'll make me cry. I mean, unless it's like some insanely creative use, just don't. So over here I'm kind of trying to show some you know, show some frame rate drops basically, and I'm not sure exactly how well this will reflect in the video, but basically what I'm doing is just putting all these layers of glass, and then I'm gonna have some lights behind them and whatnot, and that's just to kind of show, you know, looking through glass, one layer, you kind of have to render more, render the objects differently, the objects on the other side, so looking through glass starts to cause frame rate. And again, if you're just looking through one sheet of glass at a couple objects, you're not going to get anything, although I'm starting to get some here because there's so much glass. But when you start adding in explosions going off from grenades, all these players running around, you know, it just all that sort of thing, you get frame rate, and just the amount of objects on the map is really a big part of it. But you can get away with having high object density as long as you're not using too many of these quote-unquote bad frame rate objects. So you know, here this is kind of just a not really the best demonstration in the world, but I think this still kind of gets the point across. So yeah, obviously, you know, it's pretty easy to tell when you're having frame rate drops. Like, I'm having some right here. It's not being picked up incredibly well, but I think you can kind of catch a glimpse of it. But anyways, yeah, you don't want frame drops. These are some objects that cause them, along with object density. Just try to avoid using these as much as possible. And, you know, a lot of times you can find good substitutes for these. So like the block 5x1 over there, use 2 3x1s, because having those two objects will be better than having the one 5x1, because the 5x1 has lights on them. And then all these just objects with tons of glass and whatnot, or lights, or just even a bunch of detail is just bad. So like a Coliseum wall, since it's so big and flat and simple, has no, you know, you're not going to have any issues with frame rate. Another thing that's kind of similar to frame rate, but not entirely the same thing, is what's generally called disco. I'm sure some of you have noticed this, maybe not known what it is, where your entire map just starts flashing, all these objects in the map. And what that is as opposed to frame rate, where all the objects, you know, it basically is a factor of all the objects in your view at any given time. Disco is a factor of every object along your line of sight, whether you can see it or not. So just, if you're looking at your entire map, then all those objects, whether you can actually see them or not, but all the objects that would be in view are factoring into disco. So again, you just got to keep object density down in a slightly different way. So hopefully this will help some of you guys. I know it's difficult to kind of teach this sort of thing, but I hope this helps. Hopefully this will get you guys thinking about what objects to use and not to use. So anyways, this has been Psychoduck with Halo Forge Epidemic, signing out.